All right, everybody, good morning or good afternoon. It's Mr. Lloyd here, and unfortunately, I am not here today, but I'm going to hope that this video, which might end up being a little bit lengthy, is going to do the job and keep you moving forward. Just because I'm not there doesn't mean you can't learn something. So, last night you had 4 things to complete for homework. 2 of them were in Get More Math, and I can see Get More Math from my computer, so I don't need to review the results of that. You either had it or you didn't, and I can always talk with you about that when I get home, back to school. The other 2 pieces involve the samples in Get More Math, the samples in the notebook and the summary. So I want to zip through those answers right now. You should open up and maybe split screen right now. Feel free to pause the video until you have the video on one side and Notability on the other. It would be helpful that if you could do both at the same time. So go ahead and pause and get that ready. And hopefully you have a split screen. Notability on one side, this video playing on the other. If it's not like that, it's going to be hard to keep up. Now, let's go ahead and start with this page, this section that says 2.2a, slope from a graph. And all I'm going to do is go through and go over the answers, just like I would have if I were in class. The only difference is a different color. There's the light bulb that we talked about. Here's the examples. And I'm going to go right across. I'm going to do these quickly because in many classes I've already done this. So on this page on the left, I have a line that has a point through -2, 0. -2, 0 is right here, and it has a slope of 2, which, as you can see, can be created with 2 over 1. So I went up 2 over 1 and made another dot, and Get More Math graphed it for me. In the next one, I found point 0, -1. That's this point right here, and I realized that my slope was going to be undefined. Undefined means I'm going to have a vertical line. Vertical lines are undefined, so I just made a vertical line. You could do that by tapping any other location above or below, as long as you tap something that's going to make a vertical line. And on the right-hand side, 0.14 is right here. I have a slope of -1/4. So what I think of is either I'm going to go down 1, that's a negative, and then right 2, that would be a good option. Or you could just stick with rise and run the way you're used to, and then think about the fact that a negative goes down. So counting from here, you would count 1 up. And if I went to the right, I'd have a line that went up and right, which would be incorrect. So I'm just going to have to go the other way. So I'd go 1 up and 2 to the left. Either one of those would work, and you would get a negative line. Let's keep going. The bottom row, I didn't have these done in class, so here they are. What's the rate of change seen in the graph? Just like in class, I just found 2 spots where my line touched the coordinate grid. There's other points than these, but these are the ones I picked, and I counted rise and run, 3 halves. In the middle, I did it again. I counted rise and run. I had 4 over -2, and that simplifies to -2. A common misconception is that you need to do -2 over 1, and that's not wrong, but -2 by itself is better. And finally, this guy, one more time, I just picked 2 points. The closer they are together, the easier this is, and the less simplifying of fractions you have to do. So I got -1/2. The negative, by the way, is allowed to, let's see if this will move. It's allowed to go on the top, in front, or on the bottom. Any of these 3 locations is okay. So I put mine in front. Now let's go down to the 3 more. Sorry about that. What's the rate of change seen in the graph below? This one was the 0 slope, like me skiing. If you're unclear on why that is, find 2 spots, count the rise, which is 0, and the run, which in this example looks like it's about 5, and divide that, you get 0. All right, any 2 points would work. This guy right here, same concept. Pick 2 points, doesn't really matter where. The rise would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and the run is 0. And when you divide that into a calculator, you're going to go ahead and get an error message, which is why you choose undefined. And finally, on the right-hand side, I'm going to pick 2 spots. These 2 look nice. Rise of 2, run of 2, and simplify that to 1. So there's your correct answer. Piece of cake. The summary, I've already done this ahead of time to just point it out. What makes something linear? This was in the notes in one of the first pieces. It is a consistent rate of change. A consistent rate of change. Use the pause button and write that in if you have something different. A consistent rate of change is key. What is the formula for the slope? Now, there's lots of different formulas. The truth is you probably just have this one. That's perfectly okay if that's the only one you have for now. So if you have rise over run, good. If not, pause and add that in. Number 3, as the slope gets bigger, 2 to 3 to 4, what happens to the line? It gets steeper. Number 4, a line with a slope of 0 is flat, or you might call it horizontal. And then finally, determine the slope of each line below. I did that for 2/3 on the left, undefined in the middle, and -1 on the right. Finally, anybody trying the extension, it would look like this. I've got my point at -1, 2, which is right here, and I have a slope of 2 up and 3 to the right. There's my second dot, and I connect them with a straight line. Straight line makes it linear. All right. Now, if you need to pause again, do that. I'm going to start with section 2.2b. This is the new material, and I don't want to use the answer key for this. I want to do it with you. The video might be a little bit lengthy, but hopefully you're in earbuds. You can pause, and you can take your time. You can write things in as you go. And for those of you that work ahead a little bit, there might be an opportunity to move ahead. If you find yourself really getting the hang of things, you can probably pause and go and try the assignment for today. So I'm going to begin in section 2.2b. Once again, good idea, in my opinion, to have the screen split, watching the video on one side and being ready to write on the other. Now, since I'm not there, I'm going to stick to some real basic information here. We're going to be calculating slope from a table. Now, the concept is this. If I had a table of values like this, I could make these 3 dots. I could just draw them, right? I could just make these 3 dots. I could connect a straight line, and then I could count my slope using rise and run. There'd be nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But since the y-axis goes up and down, and the formula is rise over run, what I think I see is how much the y value goes up or down is the rise, because the y-axis goes up and down. So what I mean by that is when I look at this problem, I look at this number 6, I look at the number 5, and I usually draw an arrow from the 6 to the 5. And then out here, I put plus, or sometimes I put minus. I never put anything besides plus or minus. I put plus or minus depending on if the number goes up or down. In this case, 6 to 5 is a downward move, right? 6 down to 5. So I use a minus, and then you just put in how much it went down. In this case, 6 minus 5 is 1, so there we go. Now that is your rise. You just put that on the top. Now I'm going to color code this a little bit here. Let's change this up. Style in blue. And let's do the run. And you might know what's going to happen here. On the other side, the run is left and right. That's your x-axis. So we're going to pick the same corresponding sides, right? If you pick the 6, you better pick the one across from it. So we're going to go ahead and pick the 5 and the number across from it. So I'm going to pick those 2 numbers, and I'm going to do the same thing. In the same direction, I put an arrow. On the outside, I put a number. In this case, 0 plus 1 gets me to 1. So my run is plus 1. And I simplify the fraction. -1 plus 1 in the division is -1. And there's my answer. That's it. Every single time, that's all you do for slope. Now, the formula, technically speaking, is on the front board. It's kind of that really faded green poster that I put up just yesterday. You're going to see the letter M, and you're going to see change in Y over change in X. That delta symbol there, this thing right here is a Greek letter. The Greek letter is delta, D-E-L-T-A. It's not important that you remember what the Greek letter is. It's important that you recall that the delta symbol, when you see it, means change in. All right? And down here, change in. Change in. Now, if I were there, I would be explaining input and output, but I'm not. So for now, I'm going to take these out, and on the top, I'm going to put change in Y, and on the bottom, I'm going to put change in X, and I get that from the Y here and the X there. Once again, pause the video. Make sure you're keeping up with the notes. Just because I'm not there doesn't mean I don't expect you to learn something. Now, in a number of examples, this example we just did, you can see that we worked it through. We got the smiley face with the -1. Let's try another one. Now, I have the examples written out, but I'm going to do them the way I'm explaining it in the video. I'm going to take my Y value, and I'm going to compare the 3 to the 6. 3 goes up 3 spaces to get to 6. 3 plus 3 equals 6. On the right-hand side, I used blue. I'm going to go from -1 to 0. Now, that's an increase in 1. -1 goes up to 0. And I'm going to go ahead and divide that. And you can see that division down here. Change in Y over change in X. Pause the video if you need to. That equals 3, and there's your slope. That's it. I hear this guy likes to say another one. So here's another one. On the right-hand side, we're going to take the Y value, 10 to 5. We're going to go ahead and say it goes down by 5. On the right-hand side, we're going to do the same idea. We're going to talk about 0 to 4. That one looks like it goes, you could probably guess, it goes up by 4. 0 plus 4 equals 4. And then look down here towards the bottom. All right, there's your -5. There's your +4. And next to it is your slope. That's pretty nice. It's easy to work through. Now, if you're seeing a pattern and you're thinking this is really easy, great. I have a series of problems right here that I think you should work through. In my opinion, if you feel like you're ready to go on this, pause the video, work on this series, and then push play. I'm going to go through each of the questions, and you could just fast forward until you get to the question you need. If you run into a difficult question, you can also use the fast forward button to check your answers. So at this point, for those of you who feel like you're ready to roll, pause the video, start trying these 8 questions, and then push play and use the fast forward button to check your answers. If you need a little bit more support, I'm going to walk through each and every one of these, watch until you don't need to watch anymore, and then pause me, and then start working on them on your own. All right? So if you're still watching, that means either you're ready to check or you're doing a little bit of extra watching so that you're ready. Now, these favorite tabs are going to make this a little bit easier. So here we go. On the right-hand side, what I think I'm seeing is 25 to 30. 25 plus 5 equals 30. On the left side, 5 plus 1 equals 6. So I'm going to go ahead and write plus 5 over plus 1. It's the change in y over the change in x. And 5 over 1 equals 5. Next one. Same technique. Now, just for variety, what if we went this one to this one? I promise it doesn't make any difference. If we went from -1 to -4, that's down by 3. If we then went 2 to 3, see how I have to go with consistent numbers? 2 plus 1 equals 3. So we find ourselves with -3 over +1, and that's -3. Once again, here we go. If you're watching, you're either checking your answers or you're needing a little more support. For fun, I'm going to go first one to last one. -21, let's see, -21 is pretty small, and it goes up to -13. It goes up 8. On the right-hand side, -4 to -2 is going up by 2. Think of your number line. Think of how you would count from -21 to 13, how you'd count from 4 to 2. And when you're ready, go ahead and put the change in y over the change in x, and done. Now, you might be thinking, man, we're always getting whole numbers, and right now we are getting whole numbers. I'm not really sure why that's happening. Maybe Get More Math is a little fluky right now. Watch this guy. Change in y is, well, it doesn't do anything, so I'm just going to put +0. You could have written -0 also. It doesn't really matter. On the other side, this guy goes up by 1. So here we go. I have +0 over +1, and 0 divided by anything that's not 0 is 0. You can use your excuse me. You can use your calculator to check that. And if you're still checking answers, I'm just going to start hitting these pretty hard. This is a down by 2. This is an up by 1. -2 over +1 is -2. This must be, I must have selected something that doesn't offer fractions, which is kind of weird. Let's see, 8 to 4. I'm going to go down by 4. On the left-hand side, I'm going to go up by 1. So I have -4 over +1 is -4. It's kind of too bad we don't have fractions, but if we did, we'd get a chance to just have some fractional answers. -11 and -15. We're going down 4. On the right-hand side, we've got this one going up by 1. So down 4 over up 1 is -4. And one more. On the right-hand side, you've seen this one before, +0. And on the left-hand side, we got +1. So not to minimize this, 0 over +1 is 0. So in this one, we haven't used the doesn't exist because 0 is a number like any other. And if we get a 0, then we go ahead and write 0. We probably won't even use this doesn't exist button in this round, so I wouldn't select that at all. All right. Now, we're not ready for slope with 2 points, or at least I'm not ready to teach it to you. So at this point, what I hope you're ready to do is you've either checked your answers or you've completed it. In the agenda for today, what I'm hoping that you've done is you watched this video, you've checked your answers to the homework, you've worked through the notes, 2.2b. I'm going to put 2.2b notes. You filled in what you need to fill in. and you've done the Get More Math samples in 2.2b. If this feels easy to you, then awesome. There's nothing that could be better for me right now than if I'm not there, you still pick up this skill. And when I come back, I hope on Wednesday, you all can show off that you know this thing. And a lot of you will say, this is really boring, let's move on. That would be fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that there is, I'm not going to say it's homework, but I'm going to say if you don't finish it, it's going to turn into homework. There is going to be a Get More Math assignment. It's going to be 2.2b. It'll be the only one like it. This will be the homework assignment. It'll be in Schoology as a homework assignment. It'll be part of the agenda so that you know exactly what you're getting into. And I would encourage you to press stop on this video when you're ready. Go over to Get More Math, jump into section 2.2b, and that should take you most of the way through the end of the class. If you're a really quick student and make your way through it, then spend some time in mixed review until the class is over. I hope to see you soon. This is Mr. Lloyd signing out.